With floods, climate change, conflict, and rising food prices affecting millions, the global food conversation has never been more urgent. The 2025 United Nations Food Summit couldn't have come at a better time, as leaders from around the world gathered to push for stronger, more resilient food systems. The focus? Tackling hunger, boosting investment in local production, and giving real power to those who feed us, especially smallholder farmers, women, and youth. This year's summit placed a strong spotlight on private sector-led reform and unlocking finance for sustainable agriculture. Delegates stressed the need to reduce risk for investors in climate-smart initiatives by seeking better access to new technologies. Artificial intelligence, geospatial mapping, and innovative farming tools were front and center. The message is clear. Feeding the future means thinking beyond tradition and acting boldly. Today, Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima echoed this call, urging African nations to adopt modern tools and data-driven strategies to improve productivity and end hunger. But how do we translate these big global goals into real local solutions? What role does Nigerian private sector play? And how do we ensure our farmers and rural communities aren't left behind? This is our focus on Nigeria today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ikaria Clinton. Now joining me to break it all down, Mr. Kabir Ibrahim is the president of Nigeria Agribusiness Group. It's a pleasure to have you in Nigeria today.
Thank you very much for having me.
And joining us via Zoom from Addis Ababa is Dr. Sanjo Faniro, the national convener, United Nations Food Systems, Nigeria. Thanks for joining us, Faniro.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Okay, I'll start with you, Sanjo. Can you just, walk us through, some of the issues that were not captured in my introduction that took place at the summit, and tell us how it resonates with Nigeria.
Thank you very much. You almost captured everything, but the fact remains that the focus of the summit has been on our youth and the private sector. I'm happy that you're having Alaji by your side. He has been part of us in the drive towards sustainable food system transformation in Nigeria. But the reasons of it, food is a right. And once it's a right, it means it is above every other thing we do. So in terms of whatever we may call as a country, food sovereignty is key. So food sovereignty is one of the critical issues that were discussed. And that discussion was actually also anchored by our vice president, who has demonstrated that political will and leadership to showcase the readiness of Nigeria to have sovereignty over our food system. Thank you.
Mr. Kabir, I know you've been following the summit, even though you told me that you'd have been there, but for some reasons you are not there. So, but again, having followed the summit to this point, what strikes you as the most urgent priority for Nigeria's food system?
Well, we have so many challenges in the food system. As you mentioned, that we have climate change, we have insecurity, we have very low mechanization, we have all these things. But what they are doing today, what they have done from the 27th to today is actually a stock take from what happened at the initial stage. In 2021, the UN Secretary General convened a food system conference in Rome, and everybody else was asked to really view the food system as the only way out of the turbulences that we had during COVID-19. The whole world was in trouble at that time. So this was done to galvanize people to prop up the food system so that the world will not go hungry. So Nigeria also had this domiciled in the Federal Ministry of Planning. I believe the then PAMSEC, who was our secretary at the development plan and Agenda 2050, we were in the steering committee. She was the one in charge. And it was domiciled there, and we did a lot of things around it. And even up to now, with Dr. Faniran, who is the national convener, we are working towards making the food system less turbulent in Nigeria. And you can only do that when you stem insecurity, you make the smallholder farmers optimize their productivity, and you do certain things that will mitigate climate change and all that. So it's work in progress. And now what they are doing, they call this one UNFS plus 4. That is plus from 2021 to date is 4 years. So they are doing a stock take now, looking at everything that has happened in the food system. And thank God they are doing it in Ethiopia, in Africa. It's being sponsored by Ethiopia and Italy, so that, you know, everybody in Africa will key into it and make sure that they transform the food system. Because Africa, mind you, is going to be the place to be for food security in the world, because we have a lot of virgin land. Most of our land is not adulterated like has happened in other places. So if we work very hard, we put all the cross-cutting issues in place, we can really cut a niche in the world as far as food is concerned. If you take Nigeria, for instance, we have over 84 million cultivable and irrigable land. We are just using about 40%. So if we expand our cultivable and irrigable land and learn to do production year-round, deploy technology and innovation and all that, we will have sufficiency inside, and we will be able to export to other African countries. We don't have to look for where to export what we have in its raw, in its primary form. We should add value and then sell to African countries, because the population of Africa in about 25 years will be over 1 billion. So we do need to work as Africans to see that Africa is out of these difficulties. And then the only way to do it is to look at the food system and emphasize all those issues. There are 4 main issues in a good food system: the production, processing, distribution of the food, and even consuming the food. And you have to also manage your waste from the food, because you don't throw it around in garbages and it keeps smelling.
So, Mr. Kabir, I will have to stop you here so that we'll hear from Dr. Fanira. And, of course, some of the issues that you've raised, we'll also talk about it. Now, Dr. Fanira, tell us, we understand that, there's, tell us about the 10-year youth-led agric renewal plan, and what it aims to achieve.
Thank you very much. The 10-year agric renewal plan is just to take us on track as to what we have been doing, or that we have stopped doing, and what we need to be doing. The food system itself is interconnectedness of all the food value chain. Just like Dr. Kabir mentioned now, where you look at the issue of food from the point of planting to the dining table. We are not looking at food as quantity. We are also looking at food as healthy diets. So because whatever we are talking about, agri-food transformation, it has to go along with what processes are going to it. What are the renewable issues in some of our agricultural practices? And when you look at the government of Nigeria, there is that will and commitment to transform agriculture. There are a lot of initiatives now that are going on in agri-food system business. And you see, actually, Kabiru is the president of our Farmers Association. It's a private sector. I know they are working collaboratively with the government. So some of these things have not been in the past. We're also looking at some of the issues that has to do with the financing agri-food system. It's not only planting. We are looking at planting only, which is production. It's not only production we are talking about now. We are looking at food system from the point of planting to the dining table. That is all the chains, all the interconnectedness, the systems that made up of our food system, from the point of planting to processing to, logistics taken into the markets, and then even to the post-harvest losses, which is one of the key issues. And Naji was mentioning something that had to do with insecurity. And that number of people are talking about, when they are talking about food insecurity now, it is tied to our normal insecurity. In most cases, in every case is that we should say that, oh, because of the insecurity in the country is the reason why our food is now insecure. In the first instance, what is the commitment of everybody? Everybody should be ready to contribute to the production of that food. And that is the renewal arrangement that the government is doing in terms of agri-food system transformation program. And where you see a lot of strategies have been put in place now by the federal government and even the state government. This commitment of state government, they have started investing in food system, not only in not only in production, but all other value chain, um, including aquaculture, including processing, including storage facility, infrastructure development for agriculture. So all these are including climate smart agriculture. And the most important of it now is our youth, involvement of our youth and our women group in agribusiness. Some of these are the issues that are aligning with the 10 years plan of the federal government in transforming our food system as a country.
Dr. Fanny, now back to Yaktek Kabir. He's mentioned a very important aspect, and I really want to talk the youth. As much as we say, okay, some of the youth are into agriculture, but a lot of them are still not. They still don't buy into it. So how do we make agriculture more attractive and profitable for young people and also women? He mentioned the women folk.
Well, you see, the youth now are coming into agriculture because it's no longer hose and cutlasses. You are doing a lot of IT to drive productivity in agriculture. Then there is agribusiness. You show the youth that they can make a lot of money from agriculture, and therefore they should not run away from it and look at it as a chore that needs to be done or has to be done to feed oneself. You should be able to feed yourself, feed your children, pay school fees and all that from agriculture if you do it as a business. And that is why, we are doing agribusiness. I'm the president of Nigeria Agribusiness Group. I know how to make money from architecture.
You teach me that. I like that part.
I'm sure you live in my neighborhood. You see the work we are doing there. So, and as far as agriculture is concerned now, it's not what our parents or grandparents used to do. Youth should come into it because there is a lot of money in it. In fact, until recently, we were getting good value for our produce. And you people were complaining that the food items were very costly. But the farmers were happy, getting real value from what they produce.
Very happy at our expense.
And I know many youth that are now getting into agriculture. In fact, there is a youth program even right now associated with the UN food system. There are many youth going into it. And then as to women, where you come from, it's actually women that do the production. Men just sit down and take palm wine and all that. So it's not a question of youth and women are just coming in or you should encourage them. No, they are already in it. The only thing is you need to incentivize them to do more.
And encourage more youth.
Yeah, that is incentivization.
Okay.
The youth are using IT now to drive agriculture. There are many, many proposals to do that. You do vertical farming. You do... you even farm on water.
Oh.
You do many things now. So many youth are really in agriculture. So many of them are. In fact, I know one senior special advisor to the vice president, who even got honors in the UK. He was knighted by the Queen and all that, and he's a youth. He's been driving agriculture through IT. He's here. And even my son, has got so many CCIEs, and he's doing a lot of, agri-tech issues. He's many startups, so many people he's bringing up, so many youths and all that. I have a son also who is now working with agribusiness group. And he's fast becoming a real policy person. I didn't go for this because I attended an agri-policy toolkit program
Okay.
that will, in agribusiness, what we are doing is we are looking at all policies. We have been complaining here that policies are very good, but they are not implemented. So we are following up policies to make sure that we bring them to the front burner. We tell government, you did this policy, please do this, implement it. Because what we have are very, very lofty, but they are not implemented properly. That's why we are where we are. In other climes, if you take China, for instance, for a very long time, China was referred to as an iron cutting country. They closed themselves and they were working. Today, China is number one producer of wheat, number one producer of potato. They are almost 1.2 billion people. There is food security in that place. In Nigeria, we will be 400 million in 25 years. If we don't work very hard, we will not get food.
Thank you very much. We'll take a breather here. The conversation will continue after the break.
Implementation of the ruling is also dependent on another aspect or another arm of government.
Nowhere in the world will allow under digital economy for banks not to be dispensing domestic currency in that economy.
What will make this one different?
We want to know what they do as occupation. All of these are attributes that our questions have been designed to investigate.
In a few days to come, you see that we are all around their own crannies and everywhere in Nigeria, telling people to cooperate.
Welcome to Nigeria Today.
Welcome back. This is still Nigeria Today. We're looking at some takeaways from the UN Food Summit that is taking place in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. So I have a gentleman here in the studio and one via Zoom. Now, Dr. Faniro, there's been so much growing talk about de-risking climate investment. Now, what does this mean for Nigerian businesses?
On the climate issue, you know, a lot of initiative is ongoing with respect to climate smart agriculture, and that's the area where we laud the effort of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. Everybody is aware of what happened last year, the embarrassment that we had in some of the states of federation when they planted early, especially in Yobe State. I mean, some parts in the north, not only Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe, they were all affected. So the issue of climate change and the adaptation is being given priority and preferred. And then we see that that is why the idea of promoting or enhancing climate smart agriculture is now given preference by the federal government. At the initial stage of this of the food system implementation, I mean, in our the 78 recommendations that we submitted, by the time that recommendation was submitted at the UN in 2021, the first thing that occurred to us was to look at the issue of climate action. We took 3 priority programs. First of it was the issue of weather information across board. We were looking at weather information as critical to planting, to know the time to plant, the type of crop to planted, and where to plant. So this has been given preference as necessary, and that was the reason why we now made the Federal Ministry of Agriculture to work with all our meteorological agencies, especially the NIMET. And that's why you see every year, by January, February now, there is a release of weather information in Nigeria by NIMET and Federal Ministry of Agriculture. So that will tell you that the government is conscious of, and everybody is aware that the issue of the climate change now, it has actually it is deeply rooted in everything that we do now. In the food system is critical because agri-food is being affected by climate change. You see the erosion in most of the part of the country. You see the droughts that we experienced last year in some part of Yobe and some other part of northeastern Nigeria. So that's, you see, one of the principal reasons why you say that for agriculture.
Okay.
It's like we have a little network issue there. Now, you talk so much about climate. Now, that brings me, to my next question. What role can Nigeria agribusiness play in scaling up climate resilient farming?
Well, we have a climate change expert in the agribusiness group, and we are keeping abreast of all the issues around climate. We are taking and advising people how to mitigate the effect of climate change. And we are telling people that they should stop being in denial of it, because there are many, many instances where we have seen devastating effects of climate change. In floodings, in drought, sometimes you lose a whole livelihood to drought or to flooding. And so it's a very important component now, and you need to do a lot of things to mitigate and to even earn carbon credit, because you can even make money by taking mitigative measures on it. So everybody is now aware. I mean, people who had been in denial of it are now aware, because either they themselves have experienced it, or people, their neighbors or their friends or relations have experienced it. And the whole issue is this. I can tell you now, apart from insecurity, climate change is the second inhibitor of the attainment of food security in Nigeria. It's a very, very serious issue. You need to go to some farms that are completely washed away.
Excuse me.
To understand what this means. Because what it means is that a livelihood of a whole community is gone, because they have lost everything that they have got. Even when you harvest and when you use the residual moisture there to plant again and all that, you hardly can get as much as you would if there was no flooding. So all these issues must be factored in today's agriculture. And in the food system, that is the global food system, it is also an issue, because once one country goes out of food, many other countries will suffer, because either you take these poor people there or you help them to feed themselves. You can see that sometimes we have influx of people from our neighboring countries who come here because they don't have food. And then there are many Nigerians who also think that things are very hard here and they go out. You can just see how our people are being molested in even some places. The other time, last week, I was in Ghana. I was surprised to see that people were saying Nigerians should go back to Nigeria. And so why are our people out there? We can remain here. There are many, many things, many opportunities here in country, a very large population, very good arable land, very good access to a good education, and people can really do enterprise in other issues, and you can even do good agribusiness in Nigeria, because the population is very high. Here in Abuja, you can see I moved my processes from my village, where there is a lot of insecurity, to Abuja. You see me every day. I'm trying to do something in your neighborhood, and we are trying to bring something there, and there will be good market there.
Thank you very much. Now, Dr. Vanero, what signs should we be looking for to know whether Nigeria is making real progress after the summit?
Sorry, I didn't hear you well.
I said, what signs should we be looking for to know whether Nigeria is making real progress? That is after the summit.
What Nigeria is looking at doing.
No.
Of course, we have some. You see, after the first summit in 2023, a lot of initiative came on board between 2023 and now. Now, by the time we come back from that of 2025 now, so most of the initiative that federal government has put on ground will continue, because most of them are just taking their starting point. But for us, and in the course of the coordination of implementation of the food system, we are doing it across all the 36 states, but the FCT. So the issue of private sector in agribusiness is critical. Our youth too, they are critical. Today, there was a session on youth, which was organized by the African Union and NEPAD, and which our Vice President also spoke. We have some of the youth in African countries. You see, they are doing a lot, but they are constrained by certain factors. Finance, one, human capacity, two, some other issues. But I can assure you that after this summit, some of those areas that we have been touching, including the climate action that you are talking about, all these things are going to be what we are going to handhold as a country. and we are going to move along with it so that Nigeria, within the next 2 years, there will be a change in narrative in our food system. And I can guarantee that one. And our youth too. We already have a youth, we have mapped all our youth in the food system. And we have the database of all the youth in food system in all the 30 states of federation plus the FCT. So some of these things are guidance to our innovative approach to transforming our food system as a country. And going forward, after this summit, we will now open a new chapter to make sure that we sustain most of the initiatives that have been on ground. And with the federal government, everybody is aware that government is committed. Federal government is committed. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is committed to driving food security to a logical conclusion. And he's doing that, not doing that at the national level only, even at the subnational levels of government. You can see all the governors, you can see their commitment to agri-food system. They are not taking it for granted. And area of private sector, we are encouraging our private sector also to join hand with government. We agree that there are some requirements, but government is not actually sleeping over it. And there is that assurance that the private sector, they are the drivers of the economy. And we will leverage them to move on agri-food business. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjo Fanira. He's a national convener, United Nations Food Systems, Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming on the program and sharing your experience with us. And also, here in the studio, we had architect Kabir Ibrahim, president of the Nigerian Agribusiness Group. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for being part of the program. I'm Ikaria Clinton. Goodbye.